What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got a bunch of brand new Destiny 2 Forsaken information to talk about. So this comes in the form of Game Informer's coverage for the expansion. They're going to be releasing a bunch of information over the next month, so I'm going to be breaking down some of the stuff we've learned from them, including a look at a new exotic weapon. There's going to be a new exotic assault rifle. We get details about what the weapon does. We have new information about the Dreaming City and some new activities that we're going to see. And these will essentially be newer versions of the kind of Court of Oryx type experience. We have a breakdown of all of the new subclass supers that we'll get inside of the expansion, all of the abilities that we can use, a whole bunch of information about mods and the new collections, plus a very detailed look at a bunch of the barons and areas that we can go into inside of this DLC. So there's going to be absolutely tons of stuff to talk about in this one. As always, if you guys do enjoy it, a like down below is super appreciated. I've also just launched my first t-shirt in quite a long time, so check out the new Awesome Day shirt. You can get two versions of this, one with the text and then one which is a logo version, designed by my good friend Faisal Meki, who's an absolute gangster when it comes to this stuff. So I'm really pleased with the design. I hope you guys like it as well. And if you want to pick one up, of course, it does support me here on the channel. The links for that will be down below. But now let's jump straight into the news. So like I said, this is coming from Game Informer. We can expect a lot of coverage for the expansion over the next few weeks. First up, I'm going to start with a new exotic weapon. So this is the exotic auto rifle that you can see on screen. This is called the Cerberus +1, and Game Informer say this wild new exotic auto rifle is inspired by the Contra Spreadgun, and it really is 4 different barrels all strapped together into one Frankenstein of a weapon. Cerberus +1 shoots out in 4 directions at once, so it can be devastating in the right circumstances, especially if you can line up your distance from target with multiple bullet streams. And they do say that we'll have a more in-depth look with gameplay of this new exotic soon, but it's a pretty cool weapon. It's one I actually speculated about a little while ago. We saw it in some of the trailer footage. So it is confirmed, a quad barrel exotic auto rifle. Pretty interesting looking weapon right there. Next though, they talk about the Dreaming City, and there's a bunch of conversation about the atmosphere in space. They do confirm that you won't be able to go to Dreaming City during the campaign section of the game, and even then you might not be powerful enough to face the threats that lurk within. There's even a quest after the campaign concludes to reopen access to this mythic land, and Bungie say this will be the first destination that we've hidden from players until they believe they've completed the story. So pretty interesting the way it says they believe they've completed the story, so it sounds like they're going to throw us off and there'll be more stuff inside of the raid. But the Game Informer article says this: moments after arriving for the first time, I'm pulled into the Ascendant Realm and nearly overcome by taken foes. This destination exists across these dual planes, and it will take weeks to fully unravel the mystery. The Dreaming City will literally change from 1 week to the next along a 3-week cycle, and this happens as the destination's vendor and guiding character, Petra Venge, moves to new locations over time. New secrets and missions will reveal themselves, enemy configurations and power levels increase, and the Taken Curse takes greater hold, and at the end of the cycle, I'm told a greater secret awaits discovery for Pinnacle players to confront. So still kind of secretive, but they're actually giving us more details there. Petra will be the vendor in this space, but she's going to be relocated in the space week over week as it changes, and ultimately there will be a number of secrets that will take weeks to unlock. They say that the Pinnacle kind of secret or element of this space will be found right at the end. But next though, we hear about a new event that we'll actually get. So they say a new tower defense style public event called Rift Generator saw my Guardian powering up Awoken attack pillars in order to hold off an invasion of Scorn forces marching out of the mists. Loot catchers provide offerings to take to the Blind Well, a vast cathedral of an area where 3 to 6 players can confront a new take on wave-based fights like the Court of Oryx, Archon's Forge, or even Escalation Protocol. Steve Cotton says the entire area gets shrouded in poison, taking gas, except for the places that you're allowed to fight. As you work your way around, you get more and more real estate to fight in. It culminates in a boss, and you have to utilize those places you defended to take out the boss. So that's really interesting, a new kind of Archon's Forge, Court of Oryx style thing that we'll find inside of Dreaming City. Game Informer says that wandering around the periphery of the city, dropped flasks allow players to briefly glimpse into the Ascendant Realm to face special challenges, or to travel along platforms or tunnels that don't exist in the real world to find secret chests. Mysterious portals, usually in hidden and hard to find spots, link together together distant portions of this destination for reasons that I couldn't glean, looming at the center of this city as a great castle on the mountain called the Keep of Voices, where the new raid beckons. We're promised inside of there will be the continuation of the narrative introduced with Aldrin's Madness in the campaign, and the reveal of a greater threat behind the curtain. So super interesting stuff right there. Of course, it really seems like something is going on with Ascendant, Hive, and Taken in this space, which is pretty interesting. That could link to the enemy that we're likely to see. Regardless, this stuff sounds very interesting. On the subject of mods, so the new mod system, Steve Cotton says there are fewer mods that are more interesting. Mods are a way of doubling down on the weapons that you like. So mods will feature new conditionals that limit what class or weapon type you can apply them to, and most mods will specialize to a piece of gear in a preferred playstyle, like increased hipfire or airborne accuracy, or extra damage against vehicles. Mods will no longer boost an item up by 5 points in power, so mods won't affect power level, but we'll be seeing things like increased hipfire or airborne accuracy, extra damage against vehicles. So these are kind of perks, really. They're true perks as opposed to just stat buffs and stuff like that. On the subject of collections, they say that there are dozens of lore fragments together and between 10 and 15 distinct stories to enrich your understanding of the universe. All of these will be redeemable in-game. We wanted to tell more stories about where Varix was, for instance. The people really want to know what Varix is up to. This new feature is the way we're going to take those things and make them feel really awesome. So this is how the kind of grimoire is going to return in a different way as part of this kind of Triumph and Collection system. And on the subject of titles that they've spoken about before, they say you also get specific emblems to show off Triumph thresholds. Moreover, if you specialize in a particular category, you unlock meta goals that reward any of around a dozen titles, and you can display your mastery of the Crucible, lore, or other achievements for all to see beside your name. So that is a bit more of an insight into that new title system. We'll have to wait and see it inside of the game. Now some stuff about Crucible though. Derek Carroll says when Forsaken drops, we'll actually lay low for a few weeks before rolling out 4 new maps and a new team mode called Breakthrough. It does specify that, of course, we're getting Permanent Rumble and 6v6 Quick Play in the summer, but most of the Forsaken DLC content as such, or the stuff that comes alongside it, will be dropping a little bit later on. But Breakthrough fits in the competitive playlist. It's designed for 2 teams of 4 players. At the start of each round, both teams attempt to control the breaker, and this will allow you to hack the enemy vault. Once the central breaker is owned, it can't be recaptured, and one team goes on the defensive. The attackers need to capture the vault before the time runs out to win the round, or else the defenders get the point. And they're the only real words we get about this new mode, but interestingly, the brand new PvP mode will be for the competitive playlist. It's looking like, of course, there may be a bunch of revamps to that playlist because there is pretty low population right now, so we could see plenty of other changes alongside that mode. Next though, to get into more details, they actually have a breakdown of the abilities and how each of the supers are gonna work inside of the Forsaken DLC. So starting out with Titans, just doing it in the order that the article had them, the Sentinel will feature the code of the commander. Melees will cause explosions, but all void ability damage also attaches a void detonator, and any subsequent damage causes the detonator to go off and attach detonators to enemies caught in the explosion. Grenade energy partially recharges for you and nearby allies, and this is when the detonators actually trigger. The banner shield can still be used for an offense like normal, but holding guard creates a barrier wall of light that absorbs enemy attacks, but allows ally attacks to pass through. So there's a bit of a kind of Reinhardt Overwatch style thing going on with that one. Then there is the new Sunbreaker code of the Devastator. Throw your hammer with the melee button, but it remains in the world. Risk retrieving it where it fell to fully recharge your melee ability and trigger health regen. The more solar ability kills you get, the higher your damage, up to 3 times, and Siege Hammer creates a flaming maul that hits like an earthquake and leaves behind flame tornadoes. So that one sounds pretty interesting. You can actually kind of throw the hammer into a position and actually pick it up again to get a buff for your abilities, which is pretty crazy. For the Striker, we have code of the missile, and of course we have seen this one in some gameplay. While airborne, melee to slam into the ground like a bunker buster and gain super energy for your trouble. So this is the actual melee ability. If you pick up ammo while sliding, you automatically reload your equipped weapon and increase weapon damage for a short time. Thunder Crash sends you hurtling great distances like a missile to hit a targeted area like a meteor strike. So all of that stuff is sounding pretty exciting. Pretty curious about the new Sentinel super for sure, but then we have the Warlock, the Voidwalker's Attunement of Vision. A new Atomic Breach melee ability creates a void explosion at range, while holding the grenade button down creates a short-range explosion supernova. Any void ability kills now heal you and grant ability energy. Nova Warp empowers you with a transdimensional hopping ability, letting you repeatedly teleport short distances and then erupt in a burst of energy. So we have actually seen that in some of the gameplay. It looks like a bunch of fun to use, but then we have the Stormcaller's Attunement of Control. Tap the melee button to fling out a long-distance electricity ball that eventually detonates and flings a lightning bolt straight downwards. Arc kills sometimes create ionic traces, a spark of raw arc energy that travels across the ground toward you, which can be collected to recharge abilities. Chaos Reach fires a long-range blue beam of intense and focused damage dealing, which can be deactivated early to save energy. Then we have Dawnblade's Attunement of Grace. Of course, we've seen this one in more depth. Melee attacks burn bad guys, but empower allies. Transform your grenade by holding the button into a blessing, a projectile that heals allies and drops retrievable overshield orbs. Well of Radiance slams your solar sword into the ground, creating a wide radius aura that rapidly heals and empowers your friends. Then we have the Hunter Nightstalker, Way of the Wraith. Your melee smoke bomb heavily damages and slows those in its path. Nail the perfect precision hits against a foe to vanish and gain true sight. Spectral blades will drop you into a veil of shadows to slip behind foes and stab them before they know where you're coming from. We've got the Gunslinger, Way of 1,000 Cuts. The knife trick melee flings out a fan of burning blades. In turn, killing burning enemies recharges your knife trick, and burning enemies also recharge your dodge. Blade Barrage doubles down on your knife skills to expel a volley of explosive knives. So that sounds really fun. Of course, we have seen this in cinematics, the Hunter kind of throwing these around. But then we've got the Arcstrider, Way of the Current. Slide before a melee to unleash a staff-powered uppercut. Any melee hits increase your reload speed. All of your arc abilities electrify your enemies, and subsequent melee strikes disorient them and refuel your abilities. Use your staff super like you normally would if desired, but Whirlwind Guard means that you can guard by spinning your staff, reflecting back projectiles, and tripling your staff's damage afterwards. So there we go, some really cool insights into the new supers. A lot of this stuff sounds very exciting. I'm particularly interested in the new Gunslinger super, the Voidwalker sounds really cool, and even the Sentinel Titan might get a bit more love with that new super too. But guys, that is going to sum up the video. Lots of stuff to talk about, lots of very interesting content and news that we got in there. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on any of it, the new exotic weapon, the activities in the Dreaming City, which all sound pretty interesting, and of course the new supers. Plus throughout the video you will have seen a bunch of images of some of the barons and stuff like that. If you guys have enjoyed the video, a like really helps me out down below. As always, your thoughts are appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see a lot more D2 content. Another quick reminder, you can pick up the new Houndish shirts. I will link the store for those down below. I really appreciate all of the recent support. It enables me to do cool things like this, and of course it only supports the channel further when you guys engage with this kind of stuff, so I really appreciate it. For now though, whatever you guys get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.